Hey YouTube. Today we're going to go through and do a brief overview of the Book of Ka-Abits. This is an older book that came out back in 2019, and it is one that I've wanted to read for a while, but had the paperback I saw that was online available for sale, and because of the book and not knowing a whole lot about it, I really didn't want to get the hardcover necessarily, since I've scaled back my collection. But this one was first published back in 2019, and it is published by Atremendous Press, as you can see there. So Book of the Black Dragon, The Baron Citadel, and other similar works are all from that same publishing house. And the best way to describe this book for anybody who's curious, I would compare it to Holy Daemon by Scarlet Imprint, and how the author is, in some parts of that book, retelling their experiences from performing their ritual journey to meet their holy and guardian angel. They just kind of have a practitioner's journal for what happened, and this is similar, but in the Dragon Book of Essex context. For those of you who haven't read the Azosha or Dragon Book of Essex, this book is not going to make as much sense, but it's still easy to follow. It's just going through the cycles of the Dragon Book of Essex year over year, and you can see it's already mentioned there. You go through different stages and basically charge these vessels, and the Year of Who is the first one. I did not do the Dragon Book of Essex rituals or anything at any point, but I did have a copy of the book, so I'm at least on a very, very, very basic level familiar with the overall process. So the author goes through and talks about each year, and going through the different vessels, and that's really a big part of this. It also talks about dream work, and that was probably the biggest thing that drew me to it. Astral projection, astral travel, and you can see some of the notes from things that happened during his practice. And this is another part of the actual book, something that he was doing. Talks about using an obsidian mirror and kind of using it for scrying, and this is something that I think people could use in their practice, even if it's not from the Dragon Book of Essex or in that context. Again, I'm mostly going through and reading these books to find things to put into my own personal practice, as opposed to following things to a T, just because they were mentioned in someone else's book. So again, without having gone through, or for those who aren't too familiar with it, the first section they're talking about the vessels might be a little lost on some. The book also talks about possums or opossums. Sorry, I'm in the south of the US, so we just call them possums. The owl, and it goes into the different meanings of these creatures in the work that he is describing. So that's really the first codex, and then the first part of the book, and then it gets into the codex, which gives you some descriptions about artwork later on, and I'll kind of flip over there now. This book is very unwieldy, but the next big piece of it is the actual art, which is absolutely stunning. So again, I would classify this book, and again, why it's kind of short and brief, but I see a lot of people ask questions or not be too familiar with it, so I at least wanted to do an overview of it. But again, it's magical journal, some references to some astral travel, and then some exceptionally well done art, if this is in your style and taste. But again, if you've gone through this book and if you've read it, I would like to hear your inputs. And this one I thought was one of the more interesting ones, especially if you've done anything with the Dragon Book of Essex, in which case you probably have this book too. But you can see the vessels over here on the right, and then when you go through the 7 of them, then you can see how they relate to the anatomy. Yeah, that's about it with the book. I will say that at the moment, I think it is becoming harder to find even the paperback version. So if it's one that you want to get for your collection, certainly worth it. And hopefully I'll have another video or two for you in the future. But as always, thanks for watching.